application from scratch, really getting to understand what it is. All a lot of the things that they didn't teach me in school that I thought I knew, which I really didn't know. So, yeah.
Yeah, that whole school thing. We've got a guy that works in here with us that he'll be the first to tell you he learned more in here in the first month than he learned in his entire college career when he got boots on
Yeah,
the ground.
yeah, pretty much. That's where I'm at and whatnot. That's why I was hoping that someone would have some advice building an e-commerce app, not using like WooCommerce or Magento, or using Shopify as a back end, as a way of I could show my school that I was able to build a full-scale site because I need to complete it for my internship. And not only that, the job site doesn't want to use those type of platforms at all.
Well,
So,
I built sort of one, I guess, a few years ago. Actually, I built my own CMS and stuffed some subscription e-commerce stuff in there. The way I did it was we were going to use authorize.net, so I hooked directly into their API and used their callbacks and stuff to handle, updating expiration dates and all of that good stuff. If you're just doing a straight e-com where somebody buys a product, it would probably be a little bit easier than that, but there's a lot of scenarios to consider. Um, the most important is a good gateway and payment processor and figuring out the best way to integrate that into your code set ambiguously so what you're building not only will work for this particular case, but for the next client and the next client and the next client. Maybe the next
right,
client doesn't want to use Stripe or PayPal or whatever. Maybe the next one wants to use Authorize or whatever. How do you make it so that you could swap these processors and gateways out? Um, how do you um, handle the notification email stuff? Because are you going to use now? If you're using Laravel, I think they use PHP Mailer in that, don't they? Don't they have some PHP
um,
Mailer hooks or
the
methods?
the sending email and email notifications. That's like video tutorial 26, and I'm like on 10 at the moment. So,
I'm assuming it's simple. I'm assuming they have a method, and like I said, I barely messed with Laravel. I'm assuming they have a method you can use that you could pass the email address down into and then fire it out. But how are you going to do it? Are you going to use Ajax, which is the better UI? If you're going to use Ajax, make sure that you're passing tokens or making sure you're not able to get opened up to cross-site injections or something like that.
right.
Make sure that SSL is enabled and installed and all that.
Yeah.
Um,
On
it's
the hosting company that I usually use, which is DreamHost, they always add an SSL and know how to add the SSL certificate. So it's forced to load an SSL all the time.
mhm. Yeah, and you have to if it's an ecom site.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know, man. There's a lot of stuff. That's why we don't even for a WooCommerce build, we don't touch an e-commerce site in here. For the absolute bare minimum, I think we would do one is 4 or 5 grand under a partnership deal. Directly would
Mm,
be probably 6. Just because there's so many things and there's so many different views. How are you going to do your filtering system? You browse by category, browse by product type, price ranging.
right.
The whole search filter aspect in itself, if you're building it from scratch, is a lot to consider. Pagination, all that good stuff, and then you've got all your different views that you got to style up and set up, which should be the list view, the product view, the checkout views, the cart views, the
Yeah.
success.
All of that stuff. I did in my prototype, and it only took me about a week or so,
Yeah.
week and a half. My college, really had me in my capstone. They really drilled me on like building things. So I get when it comes down to like, all right, I know I'm gonna build. I just knock it out the ballpark. But I understand with the pagination and adding multiple different pages of items and different searchables, that is a little bit different. Whether or not going to use like a SQL loader or just have it all preloaded within Ajax and then
Well, you
have
don't
it.
want to preload them. You definitely don't want to preload them because what if they have 100,000 products? You want to
Right,
pull 15 at a time or something, right? Otherwise, your query and your load time is going to be outstandingly high.
right,
So, you know, it's at the end of the day, it's all just classes, methods, functions, blah blah blah. You know, interacting
yeah.
with the database is just, and I'm not sure Laravel might even have some basic pagination things you can
Uh,
hook into. Um,
Laravel has a framework plugin add-in that's uh what's Amigos. It's added in to Laravel for e-commerce. I
sure.
haven't touched it because I don't know how to use Laravel at all, which I'm just making a simple blog app for the moment just to get used to it, and then I'm gonna go dive in with that to see what that's about. Because I have a friend in the UK that he's also a developer, and I sent him my code over to GitHub, and from like the logic and the way everything works out, he says I'm on the right track on how they work,
Yeah,
how
just
e-commerce
remember a
do work.
framework at the end of the day, it's just a bunch of pre-built methods, classes,
Right,
wrappers. If you look at the docs, pretty much anything you want's probably in there. You know, what hook or what method do I use for pagination? What method do I use for blah blah blah. Um,
right.
well, I don't
I'm
know. Let's see. It may
Yeah.
just be us
MEO is
today.
Laravel e-commerce package and online shop solution. Highly customizable to your requirements, optimize response time down to 400 milliseconds for your Laravel e-commerce application. Full feature online shop package. All free out the box.
Let's see. All right. Well, so I guess we might have a really quick meeting, I guess, today. So I guess for the next week, you're kind of just working on building a blog. There's Joe. A blog right now just to learn Laravel. That's where you're at.
Yeah, that's where I'm at.
So where do you think you're going to be this time next week?
This time next week, I should be playing with Amios e-commerce, the e-commerce package that belongs to Laravel, that was created for Laravel, and then I would just give feedback on what I think about it to see how your feedback is. If anyone's interested in to diving in and looking at that as well as like a little side thing,
Yeah, we
I
could
think it'd
take
be
a
nice.
look at your code and stuff, just see what we think. For sure.
Yeah.
Hey,
There's Joe. What's going on?
what's
Hey
up?
Joe.
Not much. That's not what I'm trying to do. Webcam. Okay, here we go. What's going on? I'm at my house today.
All right. Well, I
Chilling.
guess give us the rundown, man. How's last week been?
It's been crazy. I've been sick too, which was horrible. But I had like, if I get sick, it doesn't really matter because I still have to get it done. So
Hmm.
it's not like I can take off from work. So I've been working at my house pretty much all week, just trying to get this shit done. And yeah, I gotta propose the branding and the design mock-ups Monday. Um, I mean, it's going good. I've been trying to put together my cash flow chart for the year because I just like my projections because I still haven't done that. And I don't know. I'm looking at like, seeing when I should hire somebody and stuff like that. A couple other things. I don't know. There's a lot there, but
Yep. So let's see. I'm trying to remember where you were at last week. This time, said you were, I think,
Oh
primarily
yeah.
focused on that dental thing, and then
Yeah, actually, I wanted to. I still need to scope the video for him also. And I was gonna ask you guys if you had a scope amendment um kind of already set up.
I don't have a template of one yet. It's been on my to-do list. What I've always
Okay.
done in the past was just hand rolled those because they're always really unique. But I do want to get kind of a sort of template in there. Honestly, our amendments are just basically some jargon that says look back at the main scope of work, and this amends that. And
Right.
here's all the line item stuff that we're adding, and here's what the cost is going to be, and here's how much time it's going to add, and sign the damn thing, and we'll do it.
Right.
There's not a whole lot to them. All of your main stuff gets stuck into that initial SOW and proposal, which in our proposal we call out, if we're going to do extra stuff, then, it's going to take an addendum, and it'll be blah, blah, blah.
Yeah. Yeah. What's okay? Yeah, I know. I just didn't want to spend like 12 hours doing it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
listen, I never spend that much time on an addendum, to be honest. All the time is just spent in line iteming out whatever the additional is.
Yeah.
So,
Okay. Yeah. So I was looking at this project and in the cash flow chart, and it turns out that over the course of a year, before the amendment, it looks like it's gonna at least 26K in revenue. That's pretty nice.
yeah.
Um, because I've been trying to move towards the recurrent, kind of like what you were talking about before, where I haven't been as much, and I can definitely see when I'm doing that chart that it's much nicer. It's just like a base cash flow that you can always rely on, which is
hmm
gonna be nice.
Yeah, it's handy if you know that next month, even if you don't work, you're gonna pay some bills. So,
Yeah, exactly.
I,
Plus, I
I
have
don't.
like no overhead because I don't have any payroll, so there's that.
Yeah, and that's where our focus is at right now, trying to figure out how to get some of our overhead down. I think
Yeah.
this stuff nickels and dimes you to death. It adds up in a hurry, man. None of it's really big on its own, but god dang, 150 there, 200 there, 50 here, 80 there, blah blah
I know
blah.
my software I think is only like 400 a month.
Yeah. Well, I know one thing we're gonna axe is Confluence. We're gonna try to build our own solution for that here, hopefully soon. Because
Yeah, I
the
mean,
way we use it, we don't. I mean, we really just use it for storing credentials, files, assets, and just a way to organize stuff and have different partners be able to access and manage that stuff with us. At the end of the day, all we need is a way for you to upload images and for us to get them. And
yeah, I
yeah,
mean, you could
here's
just build a front end on S3.
yeah, and that's exactly what we're gonna do. Exactly what we're gonna do.
It'd be a lot cheaper too.
Yeah, because we pay, I think, 150 a month for
Hey,
Confluence.
the Jira set there, it's confusing to me with Jira Core, and then you get Jira Software. But when you use Jira Core, it really feels like it's for software development.
If I were you, man, I would not be using Jira. We used to use it, and we moved away from it. Um, I think you could do everything you need to do on Trello for
That's
free.
that's what I'm doing right now. I mean, I'm pretty committed to Trello right now. I've been thinking about. I've looked at a couple things. Like I saw this one thing called Easy Project. That when I was looking at the feature set, I was like, "This is amazing." Um, kind of want to give that a go. But at the same time, I really just don't want to just switch project management softwares again. As much as like I get annoyed by like little things that like it doesn't do that I want it to.
Well, the reason we got away from Jira was because there was too many options. There was too much stuff, and it would take us longer to set up a board than it would take to actually do a project. It felt like it would be great. It would be ideal for somebody that is working on a very large project as a full-time job for a team. If I'm working on a big startup thing or something and we got 20 developers and 3 project managers and blah blah blah, it would be great because really you would create the one board and you can map your workflows however you want, blah blah blah. But if you're building a WordPress site that you're gonna have done in 3 months, it's kind of overkill. And I like to have our at least like our partners work with us on the board. Now Dan, my partner here, doesn't like it. He and his big beef is he doesn't like them adding new cards, which I get because they try to add nonsense cards and then that are out of scope, and then we got to block them. But I do
Yeah,
like
that's
them being
stupid.
able to see. I want them to see these are the cards in blocked, and here's why. Here's the cards that are in client review or in review for you to go either put it in done or kick it back to us. I like that because there's never a question on where we're at in a project, right? There's never a
Yeah,
question on what they need to review or what we're waiting on. And we've been using Trello for that, and they get that pretty good. They did not get Jira at all. It was way
yeah,
too
but Jira is
complex.
just like the learning curve too
Hmm.
is absurd.
Well, it's
You know, even
great.
when
Like I
I
said,
was
if you're
looking
a
at it, like
big
I was getting
project,
it, and I was starting to throw together like a workflow similar to the one in Trello, and I liked how it had like name transitions and everything, and how it instead like it made me like understand Kanban more as I was learning it. You know
mm,
what I mean? Like the statuses and issues, and understanding like the transitions and how like it just it made me understand it better. And actually, like just from that exercise, I'm able to use my Trello boards better. But it's it's just I don't think the UI is very good for one. I just think it's cluttered. Like or not even cluttered. It's just the navigatableness of things and like how like you open up a project and like suddenly you're like stuck in there and you can't get out to like see all your other projects.
yeah. Well, and honestly, you've probably barely scratched the surface on how you can customize Jira and how you can map your
Oh
workflow.
sure. I mean, I
Because
found
I
the
still
whole. I didn't
we
even know it existed, but I found all the almost like Trello power ups, but they're like it's like a whole thing, and
yeah.
they're like there's like thousands of plugins and everything, and I'm like whoa, and they have a very extended, they've very much extended the functionality of Jira with that,
Hmm.
and I'm like wow, this is intense.
Yeah, like I said, it's great if I was doing a big startup or something, but for the stuff we do, it's overkill and it's too complicated for everybody.
I just
Now Trello,
yeah, I wish Trello just gave me a Gantt chart of all my projects, and I would.
yeah. Well,
That's the only thing I want outside of everything else is for me to be able to look at all my projects and be like, oh, that's like I want to be just like a one view of everything.
I wish I could do true epics in Trello. That's my biggest issue I have. You can't really do epics. You got to use the labels for everything. You can't really do card associations in Trello
I
very
mean,
well.
are you using Hello Epics? I'm using Hello Epics. Power up.
I'm not. I've tried a few of them and I didn't like any of them.
Here, let me show you. Let me show you what I'm doing. What the fuck? Oh, I gotta add an extension to share my screen.
And
Too bad.
the burn down reports is another thing. I've tried a handful of things for that too, and there's not really any good ones for that I've found.
See, I don't understand how you
Retrospects.
have a burn down chart with Kanban Agile. That confuses me. Like, I get it with Scrum because you have sprints, but you don't have sprints in Kanban.
Well, you can. There's nothing saying you can't. Honestly, I think. Oops, what's going on here?
I'm sharing my screen. I wanted to show you something. So check this out. Let me pull up the Trello board. So, all right, so check this out. So when I'm doing, can you see my screen?
You've got it set up exactly like ours. Awesome.
Yeah, but you see this? See how the backlog overview?
Yep.
So that would be like the hierarchical deliverable. And then under this, I'm using Hello Epics to have each one of the, so I can see exactly where that deliverable is and see where each one of the subtasks associated with that is. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
And that gives me like I can just that helps me just like hop into a project, right? And just be like, okay, that's where that is, and I get that, and then I can just, you know what I mean?
Is there a way to see though from like that main quote unquote epic card the movements of the children, or do you have to just go look at the children cards individually?
No, you can see which status they're in.
Right, but you can't see the history, like so and so moved card A here, so and so moved card B
But you
over
have to click
there.
on them. But you can click
Yeah.
on them from this board.
Is that a paid power up or is that free?
It's $4 a month for the whole team.
Hmm. I had to think about that one a little bit.
I like it a lot. I don't think I'd use Trello if I didn't have it. To be to be honest, because it's like a fucking pain in the ass. Because you just have so many fucking cards flying around. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that way, too, it's like, okay, you don't add new deliverables, but if you add, a card to here, well, then I can say, okay, because all you do is you click here and you just like create new children or attach new children.
Mm-hmm.
And like, okay, so if someone on my team adds a new card in here, that instead of that being like them going out of scope, now I can see, okay, maybe with this deliverable specifically in my proposal to achieve what I want to achieve, uh, I should rethink about that process and what I say I'll deliver in that. You know what I mean?
Yes, on your children cards, like in let's say in your regular backlog, does it flag those from the individual card view as being part of a particular
Yeah.
epic or whatever?
Yeah. So see, they each have a symbol associated with these.
Gotcha.
So if so, like these two are with mood board and style guide. These two are with branding digital assets.
So what you could do is you could almost use that. It's not the intended use case, but you could almost use that to set up sprints as well. Um,
Well, right, you could. Yeah, absolutely. You know,
uh,
I mean, sprints aren't gonna work for me. I just feel like because
well, for you as an individual guy, it's not a big deal.
it just makes
Um,
sense. Yeah, I mean,
for for
I mean, I
you,
can use the
for you,
freelancer.
just move the cards you want to work on this week into the regular backlog, and
Well,
because you
and I just go by due date generally. You know, and I mean, my biggest rule that I have to keep is that I'm just not working on over 3 in progress at once. And if I'm doing that, I'm generally productive.
yeah.
You know.
Well, at
All right.
some point, we're gonna build our own of this someday, hopefully. But one thing I want to do is I want to really lean more on the time a card is in something, and almost use that to almost replace toggle. It'll be a little bit of a culture shock for everybody because we can't leave cards in progress all night when we're not working on it. It would have to be moved back, but um, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, but the thing with that is that you can't, even if you've got 3 in progress, are you really working on 3 different things at once? Like, is that really an accurate representation of the time you're spending on it?
Well, if I build my board right, I should never have three in progress at the same time. I should only have one. Um, with
For
our
the whole
workflow.
team.
Well, no. If
One
I'm
per
working
person.
on something right, each person should only have one thing in there. Um, Now it may be one piece of a larger thing.
So you want to build your board so that so that people can't put more than two in there.
Exactly.
That's cool.
I don't. I need to actually go through the flow of that though before we sit down and go, yeah, we're gonna build this, because in my mind it seems like it works, but in practice I don't know, because it's a lot different than what we're used to. You know what I mean? But we'll see. Someday.
Yeah, I don't know. I've gotten like, I mean, I like Kanban, but there's things that like I've wanted to be able to do. Like I've wanted to be able to put like, I don't know. It's you have to have something like the overview, and I almost feel like in my case, like it shouldn't be its own list. Like really, if I could take that out of the actual board and put that somewhere else, you know what I mean? To be able to see all projects, or like a project summary or something, you know what I mean? Like maybe attached to the board or something like that. That's not an actual part of the board, like isn't a list with cards.
Mm.
That would make a hell of a lot more sense to me, you know?
Well, going back to how like Jira does this stuff. You know, you've got your epic, your story, your task, and then even subtasks, depending what
Check out
flow.
that link, by the way, to Easy Project, and
I
just
think
look
I,
at like the feature set.
I think I might have heard of this before. Somebody was showing me this a while back.
I thought this was badass, man, when I was looking at it.
What's this run per user per month?
Is it?
Do you know what the cost is on it?
Let me tell you in a second. There's a free plan for one user, $29 a month for 10 users, 100 for 20, 200 for 40.
That puts us right back in a realm of Atlassian price ways.
Well, how many users you got?
Well, like I said, the way we use the boards and stuff is with these other partner companies, and like in some cases they may have 6 people that we're working with on the design
Right.
team and stuff, and so
Now, what the fuck?
yeah, because this is like a full CRM and stuff too, though, right?
Oh, it's I don't know. I wasn't really looking at the rest of it too. Let me see. I was just. They really did like the idea of managing projects, like with the beginning and end date kind of thing. Is it does have a CRM, yeah, and that's DevOps too,
Mm-hmm.
and
Yeah,
it helps.
I don't know. I'm kind of almost going back to where we were a few years ago at this point, where our overhead was almost nothing. Um, if we can build out the bare bones of what we need for free, and then just keep building on that exactly how we want it, I think that's the way we go here.
Yeah, I agree. I don't know where you find time to do that, man.
That's the
I've
tough
got
thing.
I've got so many things that I want to build out. You know, I want to build out. I had an idea of like building out a site that basically was similar to what you were saying, like my own like business management, BI board, fucking project management, CRM, right, whatever, all in one WordPress admin dashboard, basically, and then using the front ends to create client portals.
Hmm. Yeah, and
That,
that's exactly what we're going to end up doing. Some of the pieces that'll drop into that we've actually already built. We've built a support ticket system, the API system for it. We've built that proposals thing I slapped together the other day. That's going to ultimately drop into it. Before I can really do anything, though, is I really got to start some semblance of a board. I at least need to match what we do in Trello to start
And
with.
you also really got to think about with this is the organization. One of the interfaces I think that I said, because that's the thing, man. When I'm like in SEM rush and I'm in these, and I'm like, much easier than speed too. And I think for agents or for management, anyways, was an agency management software called Workmajig. I'll give you a. And the way it actually did it with this, and I made a code pen of it, of like something similar, just for fun a while ago. Let me see if I can get to it. Here it is. So check this out. And and I only did it one level in, but these guys would actually have this go out like 4, 5, 6 levels in, depending on how you were navigating your dashboard, and you could jump back to the first level, via clicking on how much of that you could see. Like, I don't know. I only did first level, so it's hard to explain it. But do you see that?
Mm-hmm.
So you see how it comes out
Mm-hmm.
when you click on one of those list items. So imagine that came out instead like almost the whole screen, and then maybe there's another navigation in there, and you clicked on that, and then it would come out almost as far as the other one came out. You do that same idea 4, 5, 6 times. You can jump back to the first one by clicking on the bit of that you can see, and you're having your label out there too. And so that's how I want to build my dashboard if I ever get there.
Yeah.
If I have time.
Well, and that's been a pain point for us actually is go back to like some of these partners and some of these partners we might like right now with one of them I think we have 5 projects in play with them right now. What starts to happen is these projects start to kind of meld together in everybody's brains, both the partners and us. And what I really, really need is when they come into their portal, and I want something similar to what you're doing there, where I can toggle through all of my projects, right? All of my current active projects, and do all that project specific stuff within that view. But also at the top, I want a little section up there that's always there. That's like, this is the burner item that we're waiting on right now, right? This is what you have to get us across all these projects. This is something important here, right? So that we're not sitting here waiting on stuff and they go, oh, I forgot we had to do that. I didn't realize it's been holding us up for a week or whatever. Sort of a synopsis of everything in play, but then the ability to toggle through all of the current active projects so that you're
Are you
not
going to be able
going.
to turn that on or off?
What's that?
Is the idea you can turn that on or off?
No, I don't think we ever need to turn it off. It's just because in the way this is how we do it already anyway and stuff. Is once we launch a project and it's quote unquote done, we just move the project into a completed project status, and so it wouldn't be in the actives anymore. But if it's an active project, it should always be there, and there should always be something at the top going, "This is what we need right now. This is something important." Blah blah blah. And also
Well, that's going to end up taking up half your screen eventually, man, if you're going to make that worldwide.
no, what I'm thinking here is think of just like a small, almost
I get it. Like one of those notification bars that says, we launched a new website. You know what I mean?
Sort of, but there should always there's one line. for one specific thing that is the most important thing to get to us. Now, sure, there may be other things almost as important, but I need the most important one item up there that is holding something up front and center in their face.
So a lot of what people have done before that I've seen done, especially in campaign management and agency management, agile, is that they'll give a almost like a value to tasks. Just 1 through 100, they'll give a value to tasks, and the idea is for the priority, but also over time, so you can see that.
Yeah, and we used to do that with Jira, which was, I think it's just 1 through 5 there, maybe.
Yeah.
But nobody understood it. Nobody got it.
Why? What the fuck?
People are dumb, Joe. They're very dumb. Even if they're in this business, and you would think you're running a design agency or something, right? And this is your job. You should probably have a handle on some basic fundamentals, and they don't. They really don't. But yeah, it's got to be so stupid. It's got to be so stupid and dumbed down.
I did build that out, by the way. You can see that. So if you go back to that thing, click on list item 4 and click on show 4, and you can see exactly what I was talking about. And then you can click on the first list, or you can click on the second list, all from that same screen.
Yep. Yep.
I forgot I did that. Okay, cool.
Yeah, no, I was gonna say we want to dumb it down so much that instead of epics and stories and tasks and stuff, it's going to be basically building a pizza. Your crust, your cheese, your sauce, your toppings, stuff that these guys can wrap their mind around. Because that's the first thing that befuddles people is what's a story? I don't want to tell a story. We're not doing a storyboard. Yeah, let's just forget that it's called a story and just roll with it.
Well, I think there's I mean, that's a big thing with client communications too, is like whether they have not internalized your jargon,
Mm-hmm.
and as a result, there's just like so much confusion, like I'll say the footer of your site, and they're calling it the copyright section.
Well, even on the overall progress of a project, instead of doing pie charts and stuff like that, have you ever ordered a pizza from freaking Pizza Hut online?
No.
Or any of these freaking places? Well, what they do is they give you like a crust, and you select a crust, and then you get a picture of like a pan crust, right? And then you select your sauce, bang, and then it shows the sauce, and then you select your cheese, and bang, then it shows the cheese on top of it, and then it shows your toppings and stuff. That's kind of the chart we're probably going to do. Like, your pizza is half made so far. We still have to do the toppings or whatever.
Right.
But
So hey, I got a quick question for you. So based on my cash flow chart, I'm thinking that like I can probably manage on my own without like another developer. Probably 2 projects of the size of this dentist at once. Like max, you know what I mean? Probably on my own. I think because I'm doing a lot more than just what a developer does. I'm doing creative direction, I'm doing XYZ, I'm involved in the copy, I'm involved in a ton of different stuff. Now, and let me pull that up because I use the cash flow chart instead generally to plan for like the year, because it's just how I do it. I don't know. And let me pull that up. Where the hell did I put that? Okay, here we go. All right, so I'm looking at this, And, you know, I set goals for myself with the projection, and I'm saying that if my computer overloads, that I want to be able to handle, you know, I'm going to try to have by April 2 of these projects size, at least in the website build section, you know what I mean? So those would be $9,100 projects. I want to be able to be doing 2 of those at once from April to June, and then 3 from July to September. Now, there's an interesting thing in there, because if I'm going to lay it out like that, and I didn't really think about this till after I was done, but if I'm going to lay it out like that, there's really only a 3-week span in there of actual coding. The rest is like, you know, the planning stages, all these other things. You know, and I'm trying to figure out how I can line up my projects from project to project to project to project so that, you know, I could have someone, you know, on staff as a developer who would have work all the time. You know, not just have work like a ton of work 3 weeks out of these. You know what I mean? That just doesn't make sense, I don't think.
Well, you got to stagger. You got to fill your pipeline. And you got to look at what you got on the books right now and say this is estimated to go here to here, and the actual window for the dev time is here. And you go and you get another potential client, and they say, yeah, let's go ahead and do it. And then you go, okay, we can probably start the research and discovery whenever here, and then we're gonna
You do
schedule it
that with
out.
a can?
Well, you do it however you want. I mean, it doesn't really matter as long as you
How do you
just
do it?
uh pretty much with what I have in there. um
I'm not doing that. That's fucking.
I
Go
shouldn't.
fuck myself. I just know I
Oh,
will.
the problem I have with it is to make it work, and we've struggled making that work until now. It is everything has to go right. Everything has to meet schedules. Everything has to go as expected. Um, and very seldom, if ever, does anybody ever meet their schedules with us. As far as copy and assets and stuff that actually holds us up from doing builds. Honestly, we have a fucking website that has been on my staging server for 7 months now, done for 7 months, because somebody can't get along and give us freaking copy. That's never going to happen here again. Because
You know, one of the things I'm really happy about with this Dennis is that I pretty much just, instead of sitting on things and waiting for him to do it, I was just like, look, I'm gonna hire a professional to do X, Y, and Z, and just you pay me, and you know what I mean.
mm-hmm.
And then I don't have to worry about it, you know, because so like especially with the copy and stuff, and I don't know. I'm sure that I'm not even gonna get copy revisions until that like 30-day warranty, like the site's already up.
Yeah, well,
Until
dude, I'm telling you, the only way you make this work is you go the route that we're going now, where you give them a hard due date. This is when you're going to get assets to us,
oh,
and
I do. I
this is
bold it in the
well,
emails.
yeah, but then if that goes 30 days past, you're moving on, right? These guys, if they want to come back to it and go again, they're going to go to the back of your pipeline, and they're going to give you another $500 to bring it back up and do a new schedule. But that way you're not, because what'll happen when you try to do this and you don't control that stuff, project B that was scheduled to start tomorrow now isn't starting until next week, and now project B guy is going to start to get pissed off. And it's all because project A wanted to dick around and bleed things to us over time. You can't make this happen. It just doesn't work when you do that. So as long as you're clearing up front going into it, where, dude, if you don't get this stuff to us, we have other stuff we got to do. That way you're never getting behind on anybody else's schedule. Now you may get to a point where you got 10 of these damn things sitting there done. Now it also doesn't stop the payment process, right? So you're still getting paid. You're not screwing your cash flow up, but um, money motivates these people, and if they know that they're going to have to pay you more to finish something, or they're going to have to wait another 3 months to get back at it. They tend to get a little bit more concerned about meeting their due dates. But for us, we can't run a business where our cash flow is spotted at the mercy of a client because they don't want to get around to doing anything, and we can't work on a client's schedule on their whims.
No, that
It's
makes a lot of sense. It does. Um, I just know that, and to be honest, I'm not even there right now because I'm kind of doing a lot of my projects in a linear way. Now, it doesn't. I mean, I've got other stuff, but I am struggling with that a little bit now. I've got some stuff that's suffering. Just because I don't have time, and a lot of that was because these projects have been brought back to life, and I haven't even thought about them for so long. And then, the client reapproached me with like, "Hey, I've got some stuff for you," and I'm
Mhm.
like,
Well,
"Okay."
but that's why we got to charge for that, to bring it back, is because we worked on that, what, 3 months ago or six
But
months
even
ago or
still,
whenever. We got to get back. I have no idea what I did. We've done 4 projects since then. You've got to
yeah.
relearn everything that you were doing.
But even still, right? Like even still with that idea, for you to bring it back to life, how do you not blow up your timeline? Even if you get paid for it.
Well, it has to be a new schedule, right? You can't
And
go
that
on the
has
old
to be
schedule.
pushed out until you have an opening in your pipeline.
Mhm. Exactly.
Wow.
Well,
That's,
how do you do it any other way?
no,
Because
you're right.
we've tried doing this other shit, and it bites us in the ass every single time. At the end of the year, we always have a bunch of projects sitting here stalled out because dumbasses just it's not a priority to them. But when they do get something, all of a sudden it has to be done yesterday, even though we haven't heard from them for 3 months. That's not realistic. Um, and I mean, that's just it has to be this way. There's no other way to run this, because you're the one that's going to suffer for it, not them. Big deal. They don't get their website done today. For you, you're not getting paid today, but you still got to pay your rent or your mortgage. You still got to pay your electric bill. You still got to pay your developer for the hours he puts into it. Um, so why should
Yeah.
we be the ones that suffer? Listen, in no other industry, and this is, I blew up on one of our partners about a week ago, and I'm not even working on his projects anymore. Dan's doing them all. Um, because I scheduled my time last Friday afternoon after our meeting last week to launch one of his sites. The night before, there were no cards on the board. It was done. We did all the changes the lady wanted us to do, the end client, in a phone conversation we had a couple days before. We changed a bunch of stuff I really didn't want to change, but we did it anyway against my advice. And then I go to launch this thing last Friday, and there's a bunch of cards back up on the board. And it's mostly changing stuff that we had changed the last couple days before back to the way they were again. And this was stuff like, well, they were obsessing over a font, two fonts that were so close I couldn't even tell the difference. This Marcellus and Spectral, super close fonts, and she was wanting to see this and this font and this and that font. I'm like, I cannot do that. It is launch time. I'm not adding things for you to just look and see which one you like better. Pick one. You've seen them both. Tell me which one you want. We'll put it in there and we'll launch it. But in no other industry would you do this to somebody. You would never go to a restaurant. You wouldn't go to McDonald's and order a freaking bacon double cheeseburger and then take a bite and then give it back and say, "Can I
Well, I
taste what
know.
this is like without cheese and bacon?" Oh, and then give it back and say, "You know what? I liked it better with cheese, but leave the bacon off, but
Or
this time
spec
add."
one. I mean, the fact that people still ask me for spec is hilarious. I can't. I'm just like, no, like what? I still don't get that. You know, I've
Well,
never, I've never done it because I just don't understand it. I'm like, they're like, well, how do you get business? I'm like, what do you mean? How do you get business? Why aren't you doing shit for free?
yeah.
Yes. Unbelievable.
So it goes back to the prototyping stuff too. A lot of people expect us to build them freaking mock-ups for free before we even get a deal locked in. They're like, well, can you give us some mock-ups and then we'll decide if that's what we want to do or not. Like I'm gonna sit here and prototype a website for you for the next fucking 6 hours or whatever, and you may
Yeah,
not
I
even work
mean,
with us. Or what
I
is
mean,
my time?
I've been
Is my time
really
so
like,
less valuable than the dude that's flipping burgers at McDonald's? Are we really that expendable? And is what we do really that easy and freaking stupid?
well, people really, I don't know what it is about the perception of people in tech. It's very confusing to me. I've never really got it. But you know, I mean, I'll tell you about like my old job at the agency, right? And I had like it was a full service agency, and like I was digital strategy director and web developer and all their Facebook ads and like it was insane. Like the amount of work I had was just retarded because they couldn't understand that like it didn't take 3 minutes. Even lurking at an
Hmm.
agency. You know, and I would like that boss would like introduce me to people, and he'd be like, "Oh, this is our young fella who speaks in HTML."
The
And I
expert.
would just be like so upset, like I would just be so annoyed by this because of the ignorance, right? Like,
Hmm.
and so what do we do about that? Like, I really, it's I don't know.
Well, it all boils down to just making sure that your proposals and your SOWs are very clear. You have the expectations laid out, and if they don't meet up their end of the deal at the time where it's holding you up, then you follow through with what you call out there. You get it's over. You'll go back to the back of the line, and we'll get back to you when we can get back to you. I mean, it's not personal. It's business. If we're going to run a business, this is stuff we have to do.
Have you found you lost clients from doing that?
Well, we just started cracking down on this at the beginning of the year. I I will be very surprised if this dude that I kind of blew up on last weekend gives us another project. And Dan's trying to save it. He does give us a lot of projects, but the projects he gives us are honestly a couple $1,000 deals for the most part. They're not big projects at all, and almost every single one of them always goes sideways anymore, and it's not worth it to me. So, it's also something where I force everybody to do discovery questionnaires now too. Um, Partners, that is. If it's a direct, I would ask them myself, but um, I need the information going into it. And our discovery questionnaire is not long. I mean, it's lengthy, but it's not insane. Um, and he literally told me, a couple weeks ago that he doesn't have time to do those. Um, and I don't have time to build your projects for you. So, are we going to lose him? I would be surprised if we don't. But at the same time, looking back at the last year, just because either not having good proposals or SOWs in place, or in some cases, when we know better, not having one at all for what we considered smaller projects. I know last year we've probably lost about 50 grand just in lost time, free hours worked, and lost projects because we couldn't get to them in time. And we can't do that again. I would rather lose that business and sit here and do nothing than lose money building your stuff.
Yeah, I get it.
And it's also, and this too, the smaller the project or the smaller the budget, the harder it is to please the client.
Yeah,
And
I'll tell you what. This client I got now with art, I've never sold a project this, you know, this scope before. Um, well, at least this price for the scope. It's
well,
just the smoothest sailing project I've worked on to date.
we have another partner that we cracked down on as well. It's a weird deal because they ended up just merging with another agency, and I guess we're going to continue to work with the new agency. But um, we used to have a monthly retainer in place with them. They guaranteed them 40 hours a month, and we got rid of that at the first of the year too because that was kind of pissing me off. Yeah, sure, I like knowing that whether they send us a project or not, they're going to pay us every month, but at the same time, it put them in the hourly mindset and where they just wanted
Well,
everything.
you defined your retainer based on an hourly
Yep,
deliverable.
yep, and that was very bad. I I didn't realize what we were doing when we did it. But we got out of it. We're not doing it anymore. I don't even mention hours to them anymore. And she asked me a couple days ago. The girl called me up. She's like, "Well, how many hours are you thinking?" I'm like, "I don't know, but I'm gonna do it for 15 grand." And she's like, "Okay." So, it's looking like I think we've got a $15,000.
Now, when you say that, you've already scoped it and you know how many hours it's going to take you.
Yeah, in this particular thing, it was my idea for to complement some desktop apps that we're doing for them. They
Mhm.
need a way to update some of the elements within the application without having to actually do an exe update because of compliance issues and cost to um, get it approved through their compliance departments and stuff like that. So what I proposed was an API system with a web interface so they could change out like PDF files and some basic copy and images so they don't have to go through that process. Um, so, and then we have another desktop app to build, I think, for them. For that's probably going to be around 10K. So all in all, between those two, I think we have about 25 grand worth of projects coming at us maybe in the next month. But I don't know. We're in kind of a bad spot right now because all these changes I've made and getting rid of retainers and pissing some people off. It's a little tenuous right now. I'm not sure what we're working on at the moment next month. So we'll get through it, I'm sure. It's gonna be good. Listen, because if we were still on that retainer, the other problem I had with that is we would get paid a month later for the hours we worked. Right? It was a monthly retainer, and we would invoice them every month.
You didn't
And
invoice them at the beginning of the month?
well, we did the retainer. How it was weird. So we would invoice them at the beginning of the month for the hours that they're prepaying for, basically. But then the month after, we would invoice for the overages on the hours, which there was almost always overages. But at the end of the day, all the real hours being put in was uh, paid a month later, and so now we go back to just okay. If we're gonna do
There's
this for
that
15
though
grand,
as well. So what you just said though was a good point. So like here's the thing about retainers that are not based on hours, right? Is that you better damn well, know what you're delivering in that retainer per month and what it is that you're willing that and how many hours that will at maximum take. Because if you know even if you're saying no, so you're not putting a retainer with them at all now.
no,
It's
no, we're
now
out of it
just
altogether. We're back to traditional.
so there's no retainer. Not you're not just changing it from an hourly based deliverable to a
No, no, it's you send us your project, we'll scope it, and
right
then if you want us to
because
build it,
they only do projects.
mm-hmm.
Well, that makes more sense anyways.
Yep,
I don't know
yep.
why I was ever on a retainer.
Well, the reason we did it was they wanted to guarantee that we could dedicate X amount of time to them every month so that they didn't have to wait a couple months for us to hit something if it was a burner. Um, which, fuck all, big deal. I don't care. If it's that big of a deal, pay us a little extra and we'll work it in. But this puts me back in a position where, like that $15,000 deal, I asked for 7,500 up front and we worked the rest of it out in the schedule. So I'm actually getting money up front so I can pay my developers, and I know the money's in the bank. I'm not waiting for a month and then covering that cost until they pay me, which is not a good place to be.
Right.
Yeah, we come out way ahead, I think, at the end of the day with these changes we're doing. But right now, we got to
Well,
kind
did
of.
you project cash flow?
I have no idea what to even project at this point.
Well, you go by last year. You could go by last year how many projects you did and compare the retainer to a project basis based
Oh
on what you
well,
think.
yeah. If you want to do that, if you compared last year to this year, the exact same amount of projects, and we raised rates too. We'll bang them out 3 times faster. And we'll make twice as much.
Yeah.
You know, and less stress and headache and hassle and bullshit is the big thing.
Yeah. I mean, no. How do you bill for hours when you do bill for hours? Do you bill like per? Because I bill like if I don't bill like just an agency hour. Like I bill like okay, if John over there did an hour work, and I'm talking freelancers now because like I'll keep on a retainer like, and this is kind of fucked up. Basically, I get a retainer for nothing because I do and it's just $250 a month, but it's hosting and DNS management.
Sure.
Which is like, if they send me like they need to set up Outlook 360, like I'll do that, and it's, whatever.
Well, but
But
it's probably real similar to what we do. We'll for like $100 a month, we'll host it on our server and we'll keep your plugins updated, and that's pretty much the
yeah,
gist
you
of
know
it.
what? I'm gonna do that for the 250 with this guy, keep all his stuff updated. But I should have put that in the scope and said because that sweetens the deal. I didn't even think of that.
Yeah,
Plugin
basically
update.
all we're doing is saying we're going to make sure your website stays up and is up to date and secured, um, and host it. I mean, that's really the gist of it. It's in the grand scheme of things, there should be never be more than an hour a month put into something like that.
Yeah, no, I know, but it still is like.
And that's also for sites that we build. That's not on
You
our
gotta
own.
understand something like that. If I sit down with a client, I'm trying to justify that 250 a month. It just makes it so much easier.
Mm-hmm.
To
Yeah, and again, like I said, that's for sites we build. I'm not doing this for some. I mean, we're not trying to get somebody that wants to just host with us. I'm not in that game, but
well, right, yeah. I mean, you wouldn't want to do that anyways. I
no,
mean,
I
so
mean,
I switched from because I wanted VPS, and I was really tired of nice shitty shared hosting. Even though it was WP Engine, and their shared hosting is like faster than like everyone else's, just because of the way they set up their stack. It's still shared hosting. So
mm,
I hooked myself up with Cloudways, and I've been talking to my clients trying to get them to migrate over. Although I've got the ones that say yes, I've scheduled that out, so it's cheaper for me per month, and their sites are way faster, which is cool. Plus, I can do, I can set it all up with repos and all that
mm,
junk and compile and be able to write in SAS and all the stuff that I just haven't been able to do because I'm fucking coding on a staging server on WP Engine half the time,
mm.
via FileZilla. Like,
Well,
which,
I gotta have a lot of control over those servers. I just pisses me off to no end if I've got to go try to do something and I don't get shell access or I can't install a freaking Apache module or
well,
something.
Cloud. That's what Cloudways is for. Like, Cloudways is developers hosting, with the support of a shared managed hosting.
Mm-hmm.
So it's interesting what they do.
Yeah, what we do is a little bit whacking. It's probably not for everybody. We set up our own VPS server within Amazon AWS with WHM and cPanel on it and stuff.
Yeah, that's pretty.
But I like to have all that scaling and all of that control that I get, having the RDS database separated and stuff. But there's a big learning curve to that stuff. And it's
Right.
honestly it's more expensive than if we just did a standard VPS through some.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, most of my client sites cost me $7 a month, which is absurd.
Free SSL or no?
Oh yeah,
Yeah, that's something that's starting to irritate me. People that still don't do free SSL when it's freaking free.
it's I know, right? It's so funny. Like, yeah, like no, you got to pay for your let's encrypt thing. Like
Yeah.
how like you're especially when you're talking like I don't know who they think they're talking to, but like at this point, like most of the developers are like educated enough to be like, yeah, you're just a dick.
Yeah. Now my next beef is these freaking hosting companies that won't let you do external SMTP setups on their hosting. That's I don't I don't know if it's because I mean they claim security, but I can't see why allowing an SMTP through some other legit freaking thing would be a problem on a hosting account. I think it's more so that you have to just buy their crap. But
Hmm.
because WordPress out of the box does not. I mean, if you just let it roll, the notification emails and stuff usually go to spam. It wants to just use some default hosting, whatever your default server's host name is as the sender, and they always go to spam. So we almost always set up an SMTP plugin on that
Right.
crap. Um, yeah.
Here, check this out. Well, yeah, no, that's always the way to go if you're gonna set up someone's email. Um, this is really cool. I'll just put it in chat. That's really helpful when you want to scale a site or like you want to know when to scale a site. Um, if you're gonna do it by automated options, I mean, there's automate like this has a lot of things that AWS offers as far as like creating a scalable stack
Hmm.
or server, whatever, you know what I mean? Which is cool. And they've got an API, so you can literally like manage all your servers. If you wanted to, you could just create in that admin dashboard you were talking about before an entire server management board in there. And it's pretty powerful API from what I was looking at. You can do pretty much anything you can do the on the main site right
Well,
there.
it looks like they're using AWS as their
Oh, they do. They use
backbone.
AWS. They use, but I mean, it's all within the same. Like you know, I'm not gonna use a. I'm not. I'm gonna use DigitalOcean if I'm hosting Joe Schmo's site down the road, and he's never gonna need to scale ever. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? I'm not gonna use AWS. I'm gonna use DigitalOcean because it's $1. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Well,
It's the
but
same.
that's the point of having a VPS, because then it doesn't matter. Who cares? You can have 50 of those damn things on that VPS, and it's not going to peg your needle one bit. They get freaking 10 hits a day or something.
Right.
Um, but yeah, no, that's cool. It's come a long way, no matter which way you go, from where we were freaking even 5 years ago. Freaking, I mean, I remember back when I was with that My Recovery deal. We had 2 dedicated boxes we were paying for per month. They're like $2,000 a month, um, just to handle spikes once in a while. Now with like AWS or any of these cloud things, they'll auto scale. I mean, when the
Yeah, I
traffic
can't
starts to
imagine
get
how
big.
horrible that was too. To just get a call at 3 in the morning. Her website traffic spiked, and you got to go to the office and fucking hot swap a fucking like fuck that, dude. That's
Mm-hmm.
horrible. I would never want to do that.
That's the way it was though back then. There wasn't really too many options out there like this.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, this for me was the best of both worlds as far as going from my WordPress managed hosting kind of to something with a little bit more control, but also has like all those benefits of like, automatic WordPress stack that's optimized for WordPress, the SMTP. Right. Oh, this says SMTP service. What is this? A reliable and easy way to configure an external. See, I don't even know half the shit this still does. To be used as a gateway to deliver your emails from your server. Okay, so you can use SMTP right from Cloudways for all your emails. That's cool. Git integration, staging. Yeah, like all that stuff I don't have to custom set up, which is nice.
Yep. Well, dude, I think I better jet. I got stuff to do. But
yeah, if you got some so you're doing it all with your head. That's how you're doing your pipeline.
the scheduling?
Yeah.
Sort of. Well, we know what we've got on the books and what's coming. That should be a little easier. I mean, we never have more than 6 or 7 projects at one time in here.
And they're staggered.
Depends. We try to, but we haven't been able to control those schedules very well until this year, and so it was pretty tough to keep those staggered out right. They would always bleed into each other. So this year that shouldn't be a problem anymore. But I just look at what we got on the books. Okay, so we had 6 projects going. We just launched 3 of them, which means we've got 1, 2. Seems like there's 6, so 3 still on the books. 1 is, goddamn it, I don't know when the hell that's ever gonna launch. The other 2 should be launched. I would say maybe end of next week at the latest. So that would mean technically we could take on another project beginning.
Yeah, I'm visual, man. I need to be able to see. Maybe I'll just make a Gantt chart in Excel or something. Because I mean, I might as well. Because then I can figure out, how much selling I need to do for the year, which could help me. I think the planning out this way will help me be able to say, okay, well, I need a developer at this point because if I want to reach this goal, and I can also say to myself, okay, well, I need to dedicate this much time to selling to even get these deals staggered this way, X, Y, and Z. It'll be a lot easier. Okay. All right. Yeah, and I also have 2 more leads that kind of approached me yesterday. So.
Cool.
Referrals. Yeah. One was a firehouse. I didn't know
like a fire department.
No, it's a little bit. It's different. I still have to meet with them, so I'm not really sure exactly what they do, or if they even have money or anything. But they were referred to me by my buddy who has a payroll company, so they must have a decent amount of employees because he won't approach a company unless they have X amount of employees because he makes his money per employee when he does his payroll. I don't know. I wanted to see what they do, but I'm really confused. If you had a fire emergency, why you wouldn't just call 911 and why you would call them? If that's what they do,
like a private sector fire department.
It seems like it. Like CNY Fire Emergency Services.
That doesn't seem right.
That's what I'm saying. I'm a little confused. But like it's like we know like listen to this. Total disaster recovery solution. We know
Oh, they
that
clean
when
up after a fire. They when you have like
okay.
a kitchen fire or something, and you get smoke
Right.
damage,
Yeah,
and
I need to get it back to its original condition fast and without hassle.
yeah,
Okay.
they're like safe. They're like what's that commercial on TV all the time? Just like it never even happened is their tagline. Same idea.
Yeah, where do they get paid from?
Whoever has the problem calls them and says, "Hey, can you come fix all this shit that got torn up in this fire or this flood or whatever?" And then probably usually the insurance either pays them directly or else reimburses the homeowner or something. Um, it's probably a pretty good gig because most of these people are probably going to have an insurance claim on it. So
Yeah, I'm
there should be.
interesting to see like I
I w-
wanna it always helps me when I after I scope it how much I should approach them with when I ask them like what the what a lead could what your average lead potentially
It
brings
would
in for
be significant because I mean it could be anywhere from 10 grand to fix some smoke damage in a kitchen or something to a whole
200.
house
Yeah.
freaking getting flooded or something.
And and you've got some of these Syracuse is Syracuse, so it's everyone here is broke. I mean, it's crazy. But it's sad, dude. It's crazy. But at the same time, there's a good section of our city that's wealthy. They don't generally have fires though. I don't know. I'd be interested to see what they charge up here too, considering everything. Yeah,
Well,
so they
like
they uh they could be a potential client for sure.
considering most of the people paying them are going to have an insurance claim, I'm guessing that they can charge a decent amount. So,
Right.
all right, man, I got to get out of here. But good luck. Have a good week.
Yeah. You too.
All right. See you, Kendall.
So yeah, thank you for the insightful conversation about
Sure,
this.
yeah. I don't hope we didn't make you feel like you were left out. If we're talking, always just jump in there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh no, I was here taking up all the different notes on how to charge hourly because I remember how you told me to know my worth, and especially like now I'm diving in and trying to specialize in a few frameworks and languages and building the expertise there. I'll be able to have more confidence in myself when going out and talking about pricings, such.
Yep,
Sure.
absolutely.
Well,
Yeah.
thank you.
You bet.
Next week when I come back, I probably will ask for a lot. I will have probably a list of like 10 technical questions for everybody, so I could help be pointed in the right direction. So keep me in mind.
Okay, sounds good.
All right.
Sure.
Thank
See you
you,
later.
everybody.
Yep.
All right, guys.